So bhai, what is the mindset of an entrepreneur? Let's start with Trusanga. Tell us about it. Tell us about when you realize कि यार अब ना खुद करेंगे. But that journey is also very tough, bhai. It teaches you a lot to do, but also equally importantly teaches you a lot of what not to do.
Right.
I personally believe you have to unlearn much more than learn in that journey.
Right.
And the more malleable you are to unlearning, perhaps the more sustainable your venture and more sustainable your journey is going to be. So थोड़ा सा let's go through the mindset of an entrepreneur. A lot for this because काफ़ी सारे हमारे viewers होंगे जो young founders होंगे, जो initial first level founders होंगे, first stage founders होंगे, पहली बार शायद वो लोग कुछ कर रहे हैं. And I'm sure they will learn a lot from someone to say that, and of course you've seen multiple stages of entrepreneurship, multiple levels of entrepreneurship. But let's go to that first idea and that first venture. What did you learn? More importantly, what are the things that you learned not to do that you have followed on in your life, especially as you're building mCaffeine and Hyphen?
So let me take you one step back. I'll tell you a story of another friend.
I love to hear.
So when I reached US, right, and so I became very close friends with a fellow American. I mean, let's call him Jay, right? I used to be 23, 24. He was about 32, so about 8 years senior to me in life. Very kind to me, very generous, right?
मिले कैसे?
University. Okay. So he was in the same program. So coincidentally in the US, right? I mean, जैसे अपन इंडिया में पढ़ते हैं, right? कि वो 12वीं पास कर ली तो कॉलेज चले जाएंगे, बैचलर्स कर लिया तो मास्टर्स कर लेंगे, वैसा नहीं होता.
वहाँ पे genuinely mid career enhancement होता है.
हाँ, तो
अलग-अलग एज के लोग होते हैं.
So he was actually running a restaurant for 8 years as a manager.
Wow. Okay.
Right? And he chose to come back and study. He was married, had one kid at that point of time. And so he started studying, and like me, I was actually pursuing like a dual degree simultaneously. He was pursuing a couple of courses simultaneously. I was not married then. He was married, he had a kid. Then he had one of the bigger scholarships in the university, so academically he was there on top. He got an internship with the biggest real estate firm in the entire state. Add to that, he had this old, what do you call, a real estate renovation company that he revived at that point of time. So he started running that as well. So मेरे लिए तो it was like a complete unimaginable kind of a thing, because in India this is what you are taught. आप कॉलेज जाओ, पैसा घर से आ जाएगा, खाना आपको मेस में मिल जाएगा, राइट? करेक्ट. आपका करिकुलम भी बेसिकली बना के दे देंगे, आपको एक शेड्यूल भी बना के दे देंगे कि दिस इज अ 2 year कोर्स, आपको 2 साल में पास करना है, 4 साल में, व्हाटएवर इट इज. सो he was doing so many things simultaneously, and I think within some time they were expecting their second child as well. Then basically they went ahead and bought a house as well. And this is I don't know, you need a little bit of context to it. The housing crisis in 2000, it was in 2008, and this was around 2005. So housing crisis happened because all that was happening in 2005. Real estate had extremely inflated prices, subprime mortgages and things like that. He bought a house as well, and he was renovating his own house, and he, because he was into real estate, renovation and stuff, he bought a property that needed renovation because that he could buy it at a very affordable price and things like that. Now one fine day, and there was so much going on in his life, and he was a very close friend, so I was privy, and coincidentally his wife is still a very dear friend. So in fact, I'll just take a digression that when we got to know that we are expecting, we called them up at like 8 in the night that we just want to come and meet you. They're like, okay, come. And 8 p.m. is generally very late for Americans. They have their food at 5:30, and that's like a sleeping time and stuff. If we go there, and both him and his wife, they are standing there and ready to hug me, and my wife is like, I'm like, I haven't told you, like, we understand, right? So, and I think a little bit of age and experience and friendship, the people can sense. So then, while he was, he bought this house, he was renovating and all that. In that process, the porch of his house fell. And then suddenly there was this complete radio silence from him for, let's say, a couple of months. And I understood and learned that, there was something between the couple, and, they were somehow realized that they were not able to manage all that was going on in life, right? Kept on reaching out to him, kept on talking to him. Finally, after a couple of months, got back together, and he said that, I think I picked up way too many things for myself on my plate. So let me define it better. Went back to his wife, got her back, curtailed a few things, and, started building things again. And by this time, they had 2 kids, right? So he got everything back on track. By this time, I went on to PhD and then to the job as well. So I went and drove back again. And by this time, he had become a real estate developer. So he had this huge, so in US, you have this lot of lofts, right, which are based out of old industrial buildings, which are considered, reconverted into residential. And because he was into urban planning, big incentives from government. So there's a, like a renovating the city as well and stuff. And he was doing good real estate stuff by that time. He had some friends along who were his partners, but then, there was something between the partners that they did not have like a complete sync up into the whole thing. So he was trying to figure that out and stuff. And by this time, then I came back to India. And I was following. So his real estate stuff was going well. Those partner things sorted out, managed to, bring that back again as well. Then one fine day, I got an email from him that he's suffering from cancer, some very elaborate non-Hodgkin's something, and and obviously he was a close friend, so gave me a little bit of distress. So I called him up, and now the internet telephony is very easy. That time you had to put a little bit of effort in that, but so we talked, and he's like, no worry, I'll survive. And he actually survived, came out of that, and he went through whatever processes and chemo and everything. Then basically there was again a radio silence for some time. Then heard back from him again. This time he said that, what, me and my wife, we are in Panama. I'm writing a book about life. And sent some pictures. This time he's all covered in tattoos, and the look is different, and that from being like a super savvy real estate professional that you would think about like oiled hair and the double-breasted suit, and this time he's like a hippie with all that and stuff. Next time I heard from him, he wrote that his cancer has come back. And then there was this long radio silence for 2 years, right? Long radio silence for 2 years. So then again tried to reach out to him, and then basically I discovered on social media that he actually passed away. And what hit me most was that he passed away a couple of years back. So I tried connecting to the family and friends and like what happened. And somehow, because all that was going on, I made up rationale in my head that as to what would have happened.
Typically that cancer would have been the reason.
But then I discovered that he passed away, that while going to his hometown, and he was like maybe a few hundred meters or half a kilometer away from his house, he died in a road accident, right? All the way away from his workplace and his living place in his hometown. And then it gave me the thought कि मरना भी तो है, right? You can plan all the reasons, and sometimes you start designing that this is what is going to happen, this is how I'm going to live. So abhi bhi, so much that we are talking about how we are going to live, or how we have lived, or how at least we believe that we have designed so much of life and stuff. But the truth is, मरना भी तो है. अगर मरना भी है, तो then the journey is more important than the final markers and milestones and destinations. They'll come along the way. Correct. So this journey, I mean, what is in our control? We do whatever is it that we are trying to do, with the right intentions, with the right people, with the right intentions for the right people. बाकी सब तो अपने आप होता जाएगा, right? Some things will happen, some things will not happen. Intent is there, right? So for example, so let's take, why do we do things, right? We do things because we have ambitions. Why do we have ambitions? We have ambitions because we have a certain amount of ego, right? And this happens to everybody, that I am so and so, right? Because I have an identity, then I need to do so much, or I need to do so much more than somebody else, or I need to do something that people have not done before, or this is something I need to put against my name, and so on. Now the funny thing is, anytime you have an ego, you have an ambition, ego breeds fear, right? But there is this continuous struggle between this ego, ambition and fear, right? So anybody who says that I have an ambition but I don't have a fear is lying, because otherwise there would be no paranoid professionals and things like that, right? So it's all a struggle between the three, right? The question is, at least the way I see it is, what is the biggest ambition you can have while keeping your ego in check, which will keep your fears in check, which will keep your ambition intact, right? So that is why if you try to push any of these further, so for example, if your ego supersedes, basically it will take away all your work towards the ambition. If your ambition basically supersedes, it will breed a lot of fear. If your basically fear supersedes you, then basically anyways it will not let you do anything. So it's just a balancing act. The more balanced you can be along the way. I'm not saying that I am balanced, but at least this is the way I see this.
I agree, and I think a lot of this also comes with maturity, right? A lot of this comes with age. A lot of this comes with the journey that one passes through.